Hooray for Hollywood, where you're terrific if you're even good. Go out and try your luck, you may be down or done. Hooray for Hollywood, hooray for Hollywood.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Hollywood Knitter. My name is Allison and I am your host. I'm recording on Monday, May 25th, 2026 from my home in Los Angeles, California. It is Memorial Day here in the United States, so this is a holiday for me, and so I have the day off, which is nice. So I thought I would sit down and do a podcast because it's always been a little while, but I have my cat Apple right here. She's gonna settle in a minute, I hope. But I wanted to get started. I wanted to get a podcast in. I'm going on some travels starting this week and I'll be gone for a while. So I want to take the opportunity to catch up with everybody and what's happening and what's going on and show you my knitting, talk a little bit about my travels, little books I've read, the normal. So let's get started with my first FO, and I'm wearing it. So this is the Elton by Joji Locatelli. And I'm going to put a little video in here of me kind of modeling it standing up. This is a very lightweight sweater, as you can see. She has multiple versions of the Elton, including like a cardigan. This is the pullover, as you can kind of see. And I did it in Fangirl Fibers 90/20 in Celestial, and then Un Besito Fiber in Walking on Sunshine. And these were both yarns that I got at Zombie Apocalypse as part of the goodie bag in 2024. So they are similar, but not the same. And then the lace is Murky Fibers Mirage and Confetti that I got at Vogue Knitting Live in 2023. So let me show you so you can see. So they're very similar in that they have the orange, but one is more of a blue base and one is a cream base. And what I did is I just alternated the two different fingerings I had and then used the mohair. And the whole sweater is 930 yards. I used, gosh, how much did I use of these? I used about half the skein of one and 75% of the other in terms of the fingering, and then almost all of the mohair. I think my mohair, I used like 80% of the skein. But I did make modifications. So if you look at Joji's Elton, it is very oversized. She does a very significant drop shoulder, and I didn't want it oversized. And so I made modifications based on my gauge to make it smaller. So you can see I don't have it at quite so a drop here. I do have a little bit of a drop. I ended up with my measurements. I ended up with a 42-inch circumference and 22-inch in length total. So 15 from the underarms, which is my typical for wanting to hit kind of where I am. And then up here, I did all of the shoulder shaping in the one, actually the blue, and then I did all the ribbing here and here in the more of the white based. And yeah, I'm super pleased with it. It is super lightweight. It fits just like I wanted. I also modified the sleeves. They're not, as you notice, so they're more fitted, not so straight. And yeah, totally happy with this. It's more of a spring summer weight sweater. I'm wearing it, as you can see right now, with just like a tank top underneath. And I'm pleased, very pleased. One, because I like Joji sweaters, and two, I use all stash, kind of just put together my favorite, just putting yarns, random yarns I have in my stash for whatever reason, and putting them together. And this really worked well. Initially, I was concerned with my mohair because my mohair has more like pink kind of in there than the orange and kind of spotty, the orange and light blue that's in the fingering. But because it's a cream base and it's all the same, it works really well. So very pleased with this. This took me a while. Started this in January and I finished it in May, and it was on hibernation for like 2 months, 2.5 months maybe. Yeah. Because I had trips. And so this was left at home because it was yarn management and alternating and things like that. Though I did end up knitting on it instead of knitting retreats, because once you got through and you were just alternating. For this, she recommends carrying yarns up the side as you're changing them, which I did on the body, but then I didn't want the line on my sleeve. And so I literally cut after each one and wove them in. So I wouldn't have like that carry line from carrying them up. So that worked really well. It was a lot of ends, but you know, it was easy to hide in this, and yeah, totally pleased with how this came out. So that's the Elton pullover by Joji Locatelli. I totally recommend, well, I recommend Joji's patterns anyways, but I also recommend if you look at any pattern and you want to change it, and you just do it. Like, I totally changed all the numbers. I kind of fudged a little bit. Hers is a much more deeper drop shoulder. I want to say even for the smallest size. So I had a 42-inch circumference, and her smallest size is a 44 circumference. So I altered it pretty significantly. Part of that was my gauge was much different. And so I was able to follow, I think, her second to smallest with my gauge and get the dimensions that I wanted. So this is not the severely oversized. I think hers almost 10 inches of oversizedness, and I have what, 5 or 6 inches. And then, you know, I was initially worried that my drop shoulder wouldn't work, because that's the whole point of a drop shoulder. You know, you're going so far out and it drops. And so you do have to have all of that extra for the drop shoulder, but it ended up working perfectly. So my only recommendation is if you want to change a sweater, change a sweater. I change my sweaters all the time now, because usually for like my circumference that I want, for the fit I want, I'm not into the totally oversized right now. I do like a little bit of ease, but not a ton. And so a lot of times I will be making sweaters like an in-between, you know. So for this one, I did a 42, but another sweater I'm doing, I'm going for an in-between. I think it was like a 38, and then like the next one was a 44. So I did my numbers for my body that I am budgeting to get at like a 42. So I do that quite often. Sometimes, so far it's been working out. Like, you know, gauge swatches lie sometimes a little. And I don't try on sweaters as often as I should. I will be the first to say that. But as I've done focusing more on sweaters the last few years and doing more, like I'm just getting the dimensions that I like and kind of looking at a sweater and figuring out if it could do. Like, I was sure that this would be able to work for less ease. And yeah, so totally worked. And I'm so happy with it. The other thing I finished was my last far and wide hat. And this was to use my Purl Soho linen quill minis that I had, or leftovers that I had. And this one I did kind of like the other one, except I did even stripes, and I did a really, really far up. This is the double brim. So, and I made it longer because I was trying to use up all of them. So this is longer, bigger, thicker brim. And you can kind of see now it's kind of floppy because I did extra, but I did extra so that if I wanted to do a like really folded brim, meaning it would be 4 layers of knit fabric at my ears, then I could do that. And super warm. So yeah, this was about 285 yards. I've used almost all of my linen quill. I have little balls left, but enough that now they're considered 0 in my stash. So this is the Far and Wide hat by Taylor Harris, and it's a free pattern on Purl Soho. So super easy. You start the provisional cast on, knit long, and then flip back in and do a knit together to create that double brim, and then go up, do decreases, you know, kind of just normal. But yeah, pretty pleased with it. Pretty pleased to be done with it. I did 3 of these, if you remember, kind of in a row. I went boom, 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 because I really wanted to use all of these scraps that I had in the orange and the gray, and then I had purple scraps too. So I'm debating if I'm going to keep this hat or give it away. I'm not sure. I had the other one that I did that was the gray and orange stripes too. That isn't quite as long and doesn't have quite a big a brim. I think I'm more likely to wear that. Very rarely that will I need to have, like, you know, a quadruple brim on my ears. So we'll go from that. That's all the FOs I have. I have four whips. Start with my socks. These are my purse socks. I'm knitting another pair of socks for my brother, and pattern is just, you know, improvised by me. Toe up. Oh, that's not the one. Toe up. in one of the older skeins I have. This is Queen City Noda Sock, and somebody owes me. This was the yarn that was in the 2021 Advent. So it is kind of Christmassy colors, green, red, blue. I finished the first sock. I did kind of just, he likes ankle socks, so I kind of did that, but he is a size 13, so it's kind of long, and then shorter ankle. And so this was the first sock, and then I just did a kind of a broken rib pattern. You can kind of, there you go, you can see. And then I follow the Sockmaticians pattern for doing the heel usually. That one I find works the best. So that one is done, and I am almost ready to start, well, a little bit more. I'm working on the foot. I have some more to do on there. These are my first project. They're gonna come traveling with me, and where I will finish them up. I'm actually the first few days with my brother, so I'm hoping I can finish these socks and maybe give them to him right then, so that I don't have to take them home. So that is the socks I'm wearing. And then the other thing I just cast on that I'll show you because it's small is, because I'm traveling again, I'm going on the Grocery Girls Alaska cruise with my mom in a little over a week. I'll be on the cruise. I cast on for my favorite travel project has turned out to be, which is the Musselburgh by Isolde Teague. So I really like doing this hat pattern, mainly because of the mindless knitting. So I have cast on and have completed the increases. So if you haven't seen this, it is cast from the top, you do the increases, you do the body, you do the decreases, you close it, put it inside each other. It's a double knit hat. So you can use the entire skein of the yarn you have, or you can use different yarns or different things. I am doing this in, so my next color is a self-striping, obviously. And so far we have the blues, purple, kind of a purpley, darker purple, like a grape. And then I'm gonna go into, looks like a kind of a pop of orange, and then back into the colors. I think it's a 5 color. This is Fiber Nymph. What is the Fiber Nymph? Oh, I don't have that for some reason. Anyways, this is Fiber Nymph, and I didn't write what it's down, but this is like her midwinter sock, and it was a sock I got in an advent calendar a few years ago. So this is, I think, her 80-10-10. So it's got a little bit of cashmere in it, got a little bit of nylon, and I'll just be knitting. This is great social knitting, great purse knitting, pick it up, go on, and I really like doing it on the small circle here. So it's just going round and round and round, mindless. So that will also be going with me on my trip. Okay, sweaters. So I cast on one of my Make 9 sweaters. I cast on 2 actually, but the first one I cast on. Now, reminder, Make 9 are a list of 9 projects I put together with Stash at the beginning of the year to try to, one, move through Stash and to really identify things that I already have Stash for and projects I want to do with it. So this was the Christmas Bell sweater by Isabel Kramer, and this is intended to be my kind of Christmas sweater this year, even though I'm doing it super early. And, oh, yeah. I love it. Look at this. I got all the color work. It's kind of, obviously, it's not blocked. It's not kind of there, but I'm done with the color work, and I have divided for the sleeves already. And I will be taking this with me on my trip, because now all it is, you know, 13 or 14 inches of stockinette in the round on fingering. Another great travel project where I don't have to think about it. If I am lucky enough to get through that much, I also have the needles to start the sleeves. But my yarn, the red is Ula and Leela Mongolian Cashmere Fingering Crimson. This was yarn I actually had used in my mom's cowl not that long ago, and it had sort of bled. I had washed it then, and I washed it again. There is no more red coming out of this. It looks kind of tinged red because, again, all of the floats. So, but I'm happy with it. And then the cream is a wool cashmere blend, also Ula and Leah in natural white. It's an 85-15, 85% wool, 15% cashmere. This was one that I had just got from because that's the Kickstarter back many times. I've talked about it. So this was yarn I got in 2025. So I did actually do a swatch, of course. I didn't do a colorwork swatch, but I did a swatch. And then I washed it. So super, it's going to be super nice, super soft. Modifications for this one. What modifications did I do? I, as always, have to go up a needle size to get gauge. I am gonna I altered the stitches, as I said, to get an in-between because my gauge wasn't 100% on, I think, on this one. No, actually, this one might have been, yeah, my gauge was spot on going a size up. But the sizes that she had was a 39, and the next one was a 42 and a quarter, and I really wanted like a 41. So I made the body, I basically followed the upper body to get on like the larger size, and then I'm not doing as many increases to have a slightly smaller belly. I mean, not that much, like an inch and a half. But yeah, so this is going to be going with me, and I'm super pleased. It really is supposed to be done like it's just a rolled collar. That's kind of the way it's finished. And yeah, it's Isabel. This is my first Isabel Kramer, I think. She has a ton of sweaters. I mean, if you've been out there, and she does a very kind of very simple. She does a lot of color works and then straight bodies and things like that. And I'd seen a friend ran back 2 years ago who had Isabel Kramer, and I was like, oh, I really should knit her. I like a lot of her sweaters. So I was really happy to do this one and have it be my Make 9. Now the other one I started is another Make 9, and this is the City Limits by Tanis Lavallee. And if you look at the project that she has, she's used basically a gradient set, and she has done gradient. I had a kind of a gradient set, but then my carrying yarn I'm using, she did a gradient set by holding them double and kind of gradiating, and I didn't do that. Instead, I used a solid gray. This is carrying throughout. And then these are 3 of the kind of the gradient pinks that are going. And then I'm also carrying it with the mohair. So this is like a worsted weight, kind of, because it is basically 2 fingerings and then a heavy lace. So the yarns I'm using are these kind of pinks, which I've wound and weighed, were 50-gram sets that I got in an Opal birthday set from Hugh Loco a few years ago. It was one of her birthday sets, and I bought a set for my birthday, which is October, and it was an Opal kind of thing, and it came with 10. I bought the package that was 10 50-gram minis, of which there are 8 kind of gradiating colors. 4 of them were more pink, 4 of them were blue, and then 2 grays. So I'm using the 4 pinks, and then this is Ula & Lila Fingering Cashmere and Midnight Ash. This is what I just got like a few weeks ago. So this is the cashmere, and then this lace that I'm getting, which is an interesting lace. It's kind of like more of a chainette structure than a true like mohair that I've seen, but definitely has the fuzzy, and yeah, you can kind of see. And this was the B-Tex Midori that I picked up in Argentina. Originally, I thought this was going to be its own sweater on its own, but then I decided to hold it, and the color is Violotto Grassi, which is like, I'm assuming, gray purple. And it's a mohair, 45% mohair, 20% merino, 20% rayon, 15% nylon. And when I hold it together, well, here's my swatch, and I didn't do it with the same yarns, but it kind of gives you an idea. It's going to be this cool kind of gradiating color. And the great thing about the City Limits is she shows hers worn inside out, so the pearl side out, and then she also, people can do it stocking it in. It's just a simple raglan, kind of go down, increasing, and I have just split for the sleeves, so I have to go back. I realized I read the pattern wrong about picking up and pulling in these pearls. So the raglans are on these pearl kind of there. Originally, I thought I would want to use this side, and I still haven't decided. I think I'm going to be really conscientious about making this an inside-out sweater that I could wear either way. But right now, yeah, right now I'm kind of leaning towards more of this. All of this top is just the first color. And then I've already started working in the second color. They're very similar, very gradual kind of changes. I really like all the pops of like the neon and the pinks and stuff in there. And yeah, so as I said, I haven't decided which way I'm going to wear it. This is going to stay home because it's carrying 3 yarns at the same time. I am going to work on it later today because, as I said, I got to pull back. I'm only like 3 rows past the underarms, and I got to go back to that and fix it up because literally when I got to the point, and I thought I was working it right, and then my numbers were off for my sleeves were right, but my body was wrong, and then I was like, that should be okay because I wanted a smaller body, and then it like hit me what happened and why I lost some stitches. Yeah, so I gotta go back, and basically the 2 purl stitches on either side should be in the body, and I had put 1 set of the purl stitches into the arm, and that was why I had lost some stitches in the body. And then yeah, so I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna fudge it a little bit because I'm not gonna rip back all the way to do another set of increases for the arms. Instead, I'm going to live with the arms the way I have them, and then maybe cast on 2 extra under the arm. We'll see. But overall, this is intended to be just that cozy throw on. I mean, I really like the worsted kind of weight to wear at home. Though I say I'm just going to wear them at home, and my rainbow one, totally wearing it out. So that's not necessarily true. So those are the 4 projects I'm working on, and as I said, I plan on bringing the Christmas Bell sweater, which is to the stockinette in the round, the travel project for the Musselburgh, which will go in my purse, and then a pair of socks. Socks, although relatively mindless, not totally mindless because I'm doing a little bit of pattern, so I'm going to keep them. And as I said, I'm going to try to finish the sock for my brother. If not, it will go with me. And then I also am just going to bring a random skein of sock yarn, wound up, that if I needed to for a travel project, because I finished them, which unlikely, my Musselburgh, what I've been doing has taken me on my travels takes usually the full 2 weeks to get to that, based on the amount of time I have to knit, activities and stuff. But on the cruise, there might be more knitting time, and that might be the one I knit on. We'll see. So on the off chance that I did finish, I have a small ball that I'm bringing. And this is, bringing a sweater, that's way more than I bring usually. So let's talk about travels, just because I'm kind of going into it. So as I said, I am traveling on Wednesday to Seattle, and I'm meeting my mom and my brother, and we're going to be in Seattle for 3 days, 3 full days, 4 nights. And then my brother will fly back to Florida, and then my mom and I will get on the cruise. We will do the cruise together. My mom is not a knitter. She is a crafter, but she's very excited about Alaska, as am I. And the cruise, I believe, has the Grocery Girls doing a class, Andrea Mowry doing a class, and then Kate from Spin Cycle is doing a class. And I think we have 3 at sea days, and I think each of those at sea days we have like 1 class. So should be the perfect amount of like knitting and class and outdoors. I'm really excited going onto the cruise. We didn't book any excursions through the cruise. Instead, I got a rental car in Juneau, so we're going to kind of go do our own thing and then just walk around the towns in Ketchikan and Sitka. I think in Sitka I want to do some hiking, which my mom won't want to do, so I'm going to do some of that. And yeah, just looking forward to it. I love vacation. I am taking a much bigger suitcase than I usually do. I am really usually a carry-on only kind of girl, and that's like how I went to Vietnam. But on this one, needing to bring sweaters, needing to bring extra yarn, needing to bring my class, because with the classes I had to do like a swatch, and we're going to be doing a Steeking class with Andrea Mowry, so I had to do all that. So there's just more than I would normally bring. So I've packed, and because of that, I'm bringing slightly more clothes than I usually bring. I am limiting myself to 3 sweaters, and I'm bringing my Birch, which is by Andrea Mowry, because it's her sweater, and it's a heavier sweater. It's a fingering weight held double sweater in the Fisherman's Rib that I made it a while ago, and it's very comfy. And then I'm bringing my Lento, which is the lace. That's probably going to be a layering piece. I brought that sweater with me to Vietnam, and I really like it as just a throwover because just the lace and the mohair, or I mean the mohair and the fingering is such a warm but lightweight sweater. And then the other knit sweater I'm bringing, what was the other one I was going to bring? I have it. Oh, it's my Brooklyn light, and that I made a few years ago, and it's kind of like a cream with some pops of like green and orange. There is an orange theme. We are doing Holland America. I hear they have like an orange night and things like that. So right up my alley, because you know I love my orange. So I'm bringing kind of orangey, or have stuff that has orange in them. And yeah, so that will be exciting. And then I come back on a Sunday. My mom flies back on a Monday. I work that week, and then I fly out on Friday to go to Virginia to hang out with some knitting friends for, I think, another 5 or 6 days. So that will be super fun. So I'm going to have like back-to-back knitting events. I'll probably bring my other sweater for that one if I haven't cast on. We'll see where I am on the Christmas bell too. But that will be exciting. And then I have I have like a month, and then my nieces come to visit, and that will be the big thing. And we're going to be doing LA stuff. But I have back-to-back knitting trips, so that will be fun. And speaking of that, I came back from a knitting trip since last time. I went to the Northern California Knitting Retreat put on by the Tuna Lit Chicks, and I'm just Barb and Tracy, and then Gail and Charlene, and their podcast is blanking on me for a second. Both audio podcasts, both ones I've been listening to for a while, and I've been going to this retreat for many, many years. It is my favorite kind of retreat, where you basically have no formal. You get 3 square meals, and you're on a beautiful grounds, and you hang around and knit. And the weather was nice. It was not as nice as previous years. We couldn't be outside quite as much. It was a little windy, a little chilly, but it was perfect sweater weather, and got to see people I only get to see there once a year and meet new people, and it was a lot of fun. One of the things they do is they have a de-stash room, and I brought stuff to de-stash. So I de-stashed some sweaters, I de-stashed some socks, all of my stuff went, which was great. Oh, and I actually picked up a de-stash sweater. I'll show it to you another time when I wear it. But there's a huge table of de-stash, and I leave sweaters. And this year I took a sweater, and it's a great cabled sweater, and it's super nice. And like, yeah. But I also picked up some yarn from the de-stash table. I was very limited. I came home with only 2 skeins. Only 2 skeins. So I picked up this skein of sock yarn. It is Destinations postcard fingering weight. Again, I just like the purples. It's called Winter Forest. And then the other one is I picked up some yarn of someone I've never used before. This is Farmer's Daughter Fibers. I think this is one of the kits for people. And so this was, yeah, the February 2025 Sock Squad. So in that kind of there. I really like that kind of green. So these will go into my stash, but I was very, very good. There's always, I mean, sweater quantities of yarns and scraps and things like that. They also do goodie bags, and so I thought I would show you because I really like this goodie bag. So this year it was kind of a pink theme, and so this is kind of like a neoprene bag, so you can kind of use it as like a lunch bag. And this is the logo. Yeah. And then we got some yarn, you know, you kind of put your needles in there. So a yarn stopper. And what else? I got some stitch markers, little Tuna Lit Chicks post pad. And then they always have a cup because there's a lot of beverages there. You can choose alcoholic or non-alcoholic. I did a lot of tea, but they did coffee cup this year, and it's really pretty. So a insulated coffee cup with 2026 and the Northern California Knitting Retreat. So I'm going to take this out and probably start using it for my tea to an extent. Maybe not as home too much because I use a tea warmer, of which, you know, metal is not good. But I might, yeah. I'm excited. I'm going to use it. And yeah. So those were the goodies from Knockers. I think last time I didn't tell you, so my Pantages, so that's the theater that I have season tickets for the musicals as they come through. And I think did I tell you I saw Spamalot a few weeks ago? And It is not my thing. I am not Spamalot. It's largely based on the movie. I'm not a Monty Python big fan, and it was no exception for this particular musical. The musical is fun to put on. It's very campy. There's one or two songs I liked. I think it was very similar to the movie, but I'm just not a Monty Python fan. But I did see Spamalot. The other thing I forgot to tell you last time, did I tell you I got tickets for the Olympics? And it was a journey. If you had seen, the Olympics are going to be in Los Angeles in 2028, and they had signups for a ticket drop that was going to be happening, and psyched up about it, and I was really excited because one, I want to go, and then my family wants to go, and I was lucky enough to get a spot in the first drop, but I wasn't like the first. I think I was like the fourth or fifth. And ticket prices were super insane. I was hoping to get opening ceremony and like gymnastics because, the very popular ones, but I also wasn't willing to pay. I think by the time I got on, I still could get opening ceremony tickets, but they were like, the ones I could get were like, I don't know, 2,000 or 3,000 each. And I was like, no. I was willing to pay like up to $500 a ticket, but not that much. But I did manage to get some tickets. So we are guaranteed to at least be going. We're going to a track and field event. I got a badminton event. I think I got flag football and one more. So I got 3 tickets for 4 events, which was my max. They maxed it to 12. Then it turned out, because everyone else had drops. So that was a local only drop. And then they had a second drop that was going to be for everybody else who got it. And so my mom got a chance and my sister. But what they didn't say is that they didn't restock. So basically it was just whatever was left over that the locals didn't buy, which was BS. All these people from all over the world who want to come, and there was no stock left. They say that everyone will have a chance to come back and buy more and blah, blah, blah. But even by the time my sister got hers and my mom and my brother, it wasn't. So we're hoping the next drop, which is supposedly have more, they have to have sold probably at least a third of the tickets, if not more. And they're pricey. This is going to be LA. This is going to be a pricey event. And then it's also going to be, the American way of price gouging. Unlike some of the other countries, I think they've had them in recently. But I'm excited. I have tickets. I know my mom and my brother are planning on coming out for the Olympics. My sister might with her family if she can get tickets. And then will be interesting because I think because hotels will be insane. So although I typically host, a few members of my family at a time, 2 or 3 at most, to host 8, where I was like, where's everyone going to sleep? And my brother's like, we're going to pitch tent on the backyard in the patio. That's where I was like, okay, we do that. We do this. We can all squish in, but it will be a squish. But I'm looking forward to it. So that will be on the books for kind of at-home travel for next year and to see the Olympics and see how it does in there. I'm still hoping that I'll actually maybe be paid to work it as a city employee. I don't know how that's going to work, if they're going to have enough for some of the events. Most of the events I bought tickets for were at the beginning. And so I'm actually hoping potentially to get events towards the latter part too. To be able to see with just my boyfriend, because my family is going to come for the beginning of it and then they'll go, and then obviously I'll be here the full 2 weeks. But yeah, it will be, I've never been that close to an Olympics. I've never had the opportunity. So this will be the best opportunity I have, being a Los Angeles, resident. So that's going to be where we're going. What else? Books. So since I last talked to you, I've read 21 books. Today I'm going to highlight 3 books, starting with T. Kingfisher. T. Kingfisher is my new favorite horror gothic author, and I think I've highlighted one of the other ones. I actually read 2 of T. Kingfisher's books in this time frame. One was a novella called 9 Goblins, which was just a cute little short audiobook story I read about goblins trapped in another place, and it was good. But the other one I read was kind of a horror gothic, and it was called A House with Good Bones. And it was really good. It's a story of a woman coming back to the South to stay with her mom temporarily. She was an archaeologist, or she is an archaeologist, and they found bones at her site, so they shut it down for a while. And she had let her apartment, so she's like, all right, let me go home and visit mom. And when she gets there, there's something wrong with her mother. Her mother is acting very weirdly. And then there's weird things in the neighborhood. There's crows that are watching the house. She's a specific kind of archaeologist for bugs, and she's very weirded out that there's this beautiful rose garden that her grandmother had, and there are no bugs in it. And it's just kind of layered and layered and layered until the punch, and it was really good. So if you're a fan of kind of supernatural, but it's not gory, it's more like suspenseful horror, I highly recommend T. Fisher, A House with Good Bones. The other one, or the next one I read, which is the second one, and this is an audiobook, and goes with my mysteries, but I really love this character. It's Jesse Santanto, Vera Wing's Guide to Snooping, the second book, Guide to Snooping, and I think of a Dead Body, and audiobook too. And the main character is Vera Wong, who owns Vera Wang's tea house. And the last one she solved a murder that happened in her tea house. And as a result of that, she has now all this found family. And then she gets herself into another kind of mystery. She is visiting her future daughter-in-law, who is a police officer, who we met in the first book, at the police station. And she notices this young woman who looks lost outside the station. And she sort of just scoops her up because she's the best kind of nosy Asian kind of mom, and takes her back to her tea house and like talks to her. And then kind of this girl says that she's worried about a friend who's missing, and she was going to report it. And then it goes into the story of who this person was. They were like an online influencer who their body was found. And then it's again all these suspects that she goes and interviews and then pulls them into her circle. There are all these kind of lonely people for various reasons, and through knowing Vera and her strong opinions on things and her desire to feed everybody, slowly kind of gets pulled into this found family that she's surrounded herself with while she's solving this mystery. And it's really good. It's just entertaining. The Vera character says some great off-the-wall things, talking about social media and TikTok and being on the TikTok, and it's laugh out loud funny while doing a mystery. And so I highly recommend the audiobook, and definitely, if you're interested, do the first one first and then the second one. And they have to be doing more because the characters are just great. So I think that the author already has said that there will be a third book. So that's Vera Wang's Guide to Snooping. Check out the first one. Check out the second one. Really good audiobook. The last one I'll talk about, I don't even know how this one got on my list. Someone recommended it, and it's John Scalzi, Starter Villain. This one has a supervillain island. It has intelligent cats. It has intelligent dolphins. It has, again, just a humor to it. This gentleman's uncle died and left him his supervillain business, basically. And so he gets pulled into this. And then there's a whole twist. But it has very intelligent cats who have been watching him and do things. And then dolphins, and it's again real funny. I've never read anything by John Scalzi, and I think I might see if he's got some other things to do, but this was a very enjoyable book. I was recommended, I know, on one of the knitting podcasts I read or follow, and then while I was reading it at the knitting retreat, there's someone else said they were reading it or recommended it as a book to read, and I was like, oh, I'm reading that right now. So again, funny, a little irreverent, a little off the wall, just a fun, enjoyable read. And that's John Scalzi's Starter Villain. So those are the books I recommend this time. And finishing up, as I said, we already talked about my travels coming up. I'm super excited. I have been spending 3 days packing because I kind of pack, I do a list, I kind of go in, I pull. As I said, I'm bringing more than I know I need, which is, it troubles me, but not more than my suitcase. And as I said, I'm just trying to give myself some grace. The weather is all over the place, I think, because it's early in the Alaska season and I'm going to Seattle beforehand. It will be wet, it will be cool, it could be, yeah. So having to bring a raincoat and a winter coat and a fleece, and then shoes are always fun. I need kind of a waterproof kind of hiking shoe so I can go tramp around Alaska, but then on the boat, you know, hopefully I don't need necessarily a waterproof, though it could be raining and warm. Yeah, so all the things. We'll see. I haven't done a cruise. Man, the last cruise I was on was probably 10 or 11 years ago. We did a Caribbean cruise for my mom's 60th, maybe 55, somewhere around there. It's been a long time. So definitely looking forward to it. And yeah, just I like the idea of cruising to Alaska. I know a ton of people do, even though it's early in the Alaska season. Like, we come into these ports and, you know, there's 5 cruise ships there. Like, so I'm fully expecting there will be lots of kitsch kind of things. Basically, we're going to towns where this is the economy during the summer. And, but I am looking forward, as I said, renting a car in Juneau so we can kind of drive on our own and get a little outside of the excursions and see some of just Alaska, which I've always wanted to see. And I definitely want to go back and do kind of a longer trip. I still want to get up to Denali and things like that, but this will be a good starter trip, and it's something my mom is really excited about. And so it was great to be able to take her on this cruise and kind of mix it in with knitting too, with the Grocery Girls part of it. So yeah, so that's what's happening. I'm gonna go and get some more knitting done today because it's early, and then only have a day and a half of work, which is also exciting. And work has been busy, work will be busy, and so this much needed kind of break, even though it's almost a back-to-back break, I got like 4 days of work in between, will be good. You know, it's time for another break. I'm finding as I'm getting later on that I like just going, you know, 2 or 3 months and then having a long break, 2 or 3 months having a long break. So I'll be gone, I don't know, what, 12 days or so. So we'll be good. All right, that's it. So I hope this finds everyone having a wonderful summer if you're in that side, or not summer if you're down below, but everyone's having a good time. Kids are almost out of school up here in the US, so I know a lot of friends are looking forward to that. That's happening shortly, and summer vacations for a lot of people, and planning them and having fun with friends and family. And that's exactly what I'll be doing. So that's a wrap from Hollywood, where fantasy meets fiber and dreams are knit. Bye, everybody.